Good day, children. So, in the previous part, in part 7, we saw that Dr. Sadao, he went to the general, and general said to him that he would send 2 assassins to kill the American, and then they'll throw him away. So he'll be saved. Nothing will happen to him. And when doctor returned home after that, he refused to allow anything but reason to be the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. So when he came into the house, he straight went to the American's room where he was, and the American was in his bed. But as he opened the door, to his surprise he found the young man was out of bed and preparing to go into the garden. So when the doctor opened the door and he went inside the room, he saw the American. He was standing and he was preparing to go out into the garden to have fresh air. "What is this?" he exclaimed. So the doctor said to him, "What is this? And who gave you permission to leave your room? Why you are leaving your room?" So the American, his name was Tom. So he said, "I'm not used to waiting for permission. That I have never taken permission. I have not waited for anybody's permission in my life. Gosh, I feel pretty good again. Now I'm feeling quite well. But will the muscles on this side always feel stiff?" And then he showed one side. He said that this side muscles are quite stiff and they are hurting me. "Is it so?" Doctor said, "Is it so?" And then he forgot all else means whatever talk he had with the jungle, he forgot all that things. "Now I thought I had provided against that," he murmured. He licked the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the healing scar. "Massage may do it," he said, "if exercise does not." So he opened his shirt, he saw the scar where he had operated, and he said, "If you are not feeling good with the massage, you better, if you are not feeling good with the exercise, do the massage. Massage will help you." "It won't bother me much," the young man said. His face was gaunt under the stubby blonde beard. "Say, doctor, I have got something I want to say to you. If I hadn't met a Jap like you, well, I wouldn't be alive today, I know that." And there was, the fellow was having big beard and all. Through that he could see that the American's face was a little bit gaunt, means it was quite shiny also. And he said to the doctor, "Doctor, if I hadn't met a Japanese like you, a Jap like you, I wouldn't have lived, I would have died." Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. Sadao was quite emotional. He just bowed down and he did not say anything to him. "Sure, I know that," Tom went on warmly. This big thin hands gripping a chair were white at the knuckles. "I guess if all the Japs were like you, there wouldn't have been a war." And then the American, he went on singing, and while he was speaking, he was holding the chair in his hand. And the knuckles, these are the knuckles that you can see. These joints, they are called the knuckles, and those knuckles were looking white. So he said, if the Japanese people were just like you, there wouldn't have been war between the American and the Japanese. "Perhaps," Sadao said with difficulty, "and now I think you had better to go back to bed." So Sadao said, "Hope so. Perhaps it would have been same as you say, but now it is better you go to bed." He helped the boy back into the bed and then bowed. "Good night," he said. And after that, when the boy was in bed, he covered him and he said good night, and then he went away. Sadao slept badly that night. That night Sadao was not able to get his sleep. Time and time again he woke, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps the sound of the twig broken on the sand, or a stone displaced in the garden, a noise such as men might take who carried a burden. So the whole night he was expecting something or the other. He felt as if somebody was walking outside. Men were coming, footsteps were there, and the people were walking out, carrying some burden over their shoulders. The next morning he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. And when the morning came, doctor said, I'll go first in the guest room. He needed some excuse. If the American were gone, he then would simply tell Hannah that so the general had directed. And he said, if American was not in the room, I will tell Hannah what the general had told him. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there was on the pillow was a shaggy blonde head. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep, and he closed the door again quietly. And when he opened the door, he found the American sleeping soundly. So he closed it quietly and came back. He is asleep, he told Hannah. Then he told his wife that he is sleeping soundly. He is almost well to sleep like that. Now he is quite all right. What shall we do with him, Hannah? Whispered her old refrain. Again, Hannah was quite frightened and she said, what will you do with him? Sadao shook his head. I must decide in a day or two, he promised. So Sadao said, within 2 or 3 days, I will decide what to do and then I'll tell you. But certainly he thought the second night must be the night. There rose a wind that night and he listened to the sounds of bending boughs and whistling partitions. The second night came after the talk he had with the general. So he supposed that this night something will happen, they will come and they will kill and they will carry the body away. And this time the wind was blowing, the trees were bending and the whistling sound was there. Hannah woke to, ought we not go and close the sick man's partition, she asked. So she got up and she said, shall we go and close the partition of the American's room? No, Sadao said, he is able now to do it for himself. So Sadao said, no, he will do it by himself, he is quite well. But the next morning the American was still there. The next morning also he was there, nothing happened in the night. Then the third night of course must be the night. So now the doctor thought that the third night something might take place. The wind changed to quiet rain and the garden was full of sound of dripping eaves and running springs. Sadao slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of crash and leapt to his feet. And then there was quiet rain, the garden was full of water and the springs were there here and there. And some crashing sound came, so doctor, he leapt out of his bed. What was that? Hannah cried. So Hannah also shouted, what happened? The baby woke at her voice and began to wail, I must go and see. And then as she shouted, the baby also woke up and the baby started crying. And she said, I will go and see what has happened. So Sadao said, no, you don't go. You remain over here. And then she said, Sadao, what is the matter with you? She asked her husband, what has happened to you? Don't go, he muttered, don't go. He said, let it be, don't go. His terror infected her and she stood breathless. And Sadao was also looking afraid. So looking at her, Hannah was also breathless. She could not speak anything. She kept quiet and together then they lay in the bed and the baby was between them. Yet when he opened the door of the guest room in the morning, there was a young man. So the third night, after the third night, the morning, when the doctor opened the guest room, he found the young man again over there. He was very gay, he was looking very happy, he was fresh, he washed himself and now on his feet and standing. He had asked for a razor yesterday and one day before he asked for the razor. And with that razor he shaved himself and he was looking quite smart. And where he said joyously and he was very happy and he said, I am quite alright. Sadao drew his kimono round his weary body and Sadao was quite tired, so he pulled his kimono on his body. He could not, he decided suddenly, go through another night. It was not that he cared for this young man's life, no, simply it was not worth the strain. So he was thinking now on the fourth night, maybe something happened, the general will send the assassins. You are well, Sadao agreed. So Sadao asked him, are you alright? He lowered his voice. You are so well that I think if I put my boat on the shore tonight with food and extra clothing in it, you might be able to row to that little island not far from the coast. So he said to him that now you are quite alright, and if I provide you my boat with food and extra clothing, you might go to the island that is nearby. It is so near the coast that it has not been worth fortifying, and it is very near, and it has been fortified walls are not built over there. Nobody lives on it because in storm it is submerged, and it is the area where nobody is living, because when the storm comes, the full island gets submerged in water. But this is not the season of storm, and this is not the time when the storm will come. You can live there until you saw a Korean fishing boat pass by, and you can wait over there till you see the Korean boat. They pass quite near the island because the water is many fathoms deep here. And he said, the Korean boats, fishing boats, they pass from quite near the island because it is very deep in that area. The young man stared at him slowly, comprehending. Do I have to? He asked. So the man, he was quite astonished. He was looking at doctor and he said, have I to leave over here from here? I think so, Sadao said gently. You understand, it is not hidden that you are here. And he said, everybody knows that you are here. It is not hidden from people that I have given you shelter, I have cured you. The young man nodded in perfect comprehension. Okay, he said simply. And the American, he was quite happy that Dr. Sadao, he was trying to help him to escape. So this is the seventh part that we have done, and tomorrow, means in the next class, we will be doing the third part, and then we will be ending the lesson. And this lesson is so long, that's why I have divided it into parts. And it is quite simple. If you read the book and listen to the explanation in one stretch, then you will be able to understand the lesson better. So that's all for today.